I pretty much had a normal childhood by, I guess, most people's standards. Had a loving family. They took care of us very well, loved us, showed us their love on a pretty good basis, which is kind of it's kind of amazing considering where my dad came from, because he was in a household where his dad didn't show him a lot of love. So to have a loving father like that was, really awesome. They were really good about keeping us involved in church activities when we were growing up. Mom especially, she understood the importance because of how she was raised. Very devout Catholic family, and as a result, they really believed in the power of prayer. I think we had a really good childhood, both my sister and I. It was really good. Did we reflect the kind of I guess teaching and morals that our parents tried to express to us and teach us when we were young? Probably not all the time, nor did we take seriously the lessons they were trying to teach us by keeping us involved in those church activities. Church was very important, and my mom is still this way, and I'm sure her family was this way. Her mom and grandparents before her. Is that basically anytime the doors were open, we were there. Yes, but church was extremely important to them, and they made us aware of that. They wanted us to know that it was important. So I guess that they would have well-rounded Christian kids. Whenever they grew up, they would have well-rounded Christian kids. The transition from my Catholic background to where we're at today in a Baptist church was a long journey. When Amanda and I first got married, we actually had our wedding service was at Clarkson Baptist Church, but we had a Catholic priest there during the service. So very different from the things that I'd grown up with, but I had a lady that I loved and cared for deeply, and we'd been to church a lot together. She had been with me, I'd been with her, so we were actively trying to share in each other's faith walk. But as we, got farther along in the relationship, and then obviously after we got married, we both saw the need to worship together in one place, and it was a struggle. It really was, because both of us were trying to cling on to our faith backgrounds, I guess really what we were taught as kids. It was more about us than it was about God at that point. We didn't have knockdown, drag out fights, but it was just one of those ongoing conversations that never really had an answer. We would always talk about, well, we need to join a church together, but we never really could figure out where that was going to be. But that all changed whenever we had kids. It became very apparent to us at that point that this decision has been put off long enough. We need to make a decision. At that point, we were living in E-Town. We had a newborn baby, and we started attending First Christian Church in E-Town. And we loved it there, but we didn't see it as home because we really wanted to come back toward Grayson County. And when we got to Grayson County, we didn't know where we were going to go to church. We were still actually attending First Christian for a while before we made the decision to choose something closer to home. We came here, and believe it or not, we loved it. We weren't as involved then as we are now, and so the involvement hadn't yet hit us, but we really started to feel at home. I can really feel like God was leading us to this place at this time, and faith backgrounds aside, it didn't make any difference where we'd come from. This was where we were supposed to be. Well, really, I have to say my wife, because, there was a period there when we were kind of struggling where to go, that I actually stopped attending the Catholic Church, and because of, working on Sunday mornings, there were plenty of opportunities for me to leave and take a break and go to church, but there was a period probably of a few months where I quit going, period, and this was probably right before Rayleigh was born. And then afterwards, we started attending again. We saw that importance, and she was very adamant that she wanted us to go somewhere. And I resisted at first, because to me it was sort of, I almost felt like I was giving up a part of myself, a part of my past, a part of who I was. And it was just me clinging on to things that really were about more me and not so much about God. I wasn't allowing him to lead, as opposed I was wanting to lead and be the one to make the choices on my own. And I think that we all sort of struggle with that in some shape or fashion because even though we're saved and we know that Jesus is Lord and that He should be Lord of our life, sometimes it's hard to turn over the reins, and it was the same way for me. I had a really difficult time turning over the reins and just letting go and letting Him help me make that decision for me, lead me by the ear, whatever it took to get me to where I needed to be. And like I said, Amanda was a really big part of that because she didn't let the topic die. It wasn't like, well, we'll just come back to this topic later. We need to discuss it more now. Let's get involved. Let's do more with the church. And I think that, along with the upbringing that I had as a child from my parents and my grandmother, it was huge. That's what led me to be who I am today. God's timing is to us is kind of strange, and it really is to me because after I was baptized here and we joined the church then entered a state of turmoil. It was really awful, especially for us new members that had just joined, to start seeing people leave the church on it seemed like a monthly basis. Somebody in the staff or whatever was announcing that they were leaving and going elsewhere. And there were times whenever we thought, "Oh my, what's happening? What have we done? We've joined, and now it seems like everything has fallen apart." But it just goes to show that God's timing is better than our timing, because I think it's kind of been God pushing us out of the nest, so to speak, because we have become increasingly more involved in church activities since that time. And it's been huge, because before we were sort of ones to take sort of a little bit of a back seat. We might be involved here and there, but we wouldn't necessarily come forward to lead anything or to even attempt to lead anything, nor do we know we had those talents. And I can't say that I'm the best leader, but God has He's really pushed me out of my comfort zone, as well as some other people in our life group. He's really forced us to say, "Hey, this is where we need to be. This is what I need you to do. You need to get over the fact that you're not comfortable doing this. This is what you're being called to do." It's still work. It's not perfect, but the good news is God doesn't require me to be perfect. He just requires me to be present and be open-minded and be ready to move whenever He says move. There's so many different phases of being connected to the church and to the body. But as the more I thought about it after that question was asked, the more I went back to one specific section of the New Testament where Jesus was asked what the two greatest commands were, and that was to love God with all your heart, soul, body, mind, presence, and then to love your fellow man as yourself. To do those things, and I think to be connected, that's huge. If you love God, you're going to do what God has asked you to do. You're going to follow His commands. And if you love people like yourself, you're going to go out of your way to help those people to do things that maybe they can't do for themselves, or to help people grow in their love and faith of Christ. And to be connected to the church body, those two commands are huge. And to be connected, you have to be involved. You have to be present. You have to be here. You have to, as much as you possibly can. And I know that people have, like me, I have the strangest work schedule you could possibly imagine. But if I feel it's important to me, it's important to God, it's important to my family, my children, to be present, to be here, and to actively utilize what God's given me, the gifts that He's given me, to be able to minister to the body in whatever way that I can.